Hi, folks. I want to go over your literature review instructions. Um, a literature review is a little bit different than a research paper. I mean, they're kissing cousins, but it's a little bit different. A literature review is where you're going out and you're trying to answer a question, or you have a question about something, and you want to see what other people have said about it. I'm going to scroll down here to my example that I gave you. This is actually from a paper I wrote a while ago. And the question that I had was about writing centers. And I wanted to know about the challenges of collaborative tutoring because I had noticed in the writing center that I directed that there was some resistance among the faculty about students tutoring students and this whole idea of collaboration. And I wanted to understand why that was happening and what people were saying about collaborative work, both the good and the bad. So I did a massive research project, and yours is not going to be as massive as mine was, to find out. And so this is an example of one article that I found about collaborative work. And so you'll notice that I begin it with wanting to know what others have written about the difficulties in enacting collaborative tutoring. I continue to look for scholars who have engaged in writing center work and who have written specifically about collaboration in writing centers. So that was a lead in to this particular author. And again, you'll see, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. You can see that I'm reviewing what she said. You'll notice that I'm using APA style. So whenever I mention her name here, always is followed by the date of publication in parentheses. This is called attribution, okay? So in a conceptual study, and I'm also noting what kind of a study it was. It wasn't empirical or anecdotal, it was conceptual. Bishop investigates collaborative and transformative talk, and like Bruffy, she posits that writing centers provide the space necessary for collaborative learning. Notice that I mentioned another author, therefore I must put the date, the year of publication after his name as well. So, and this is a paraphrase for me, okay? It's not a quotation, but it's not my idea either, so I have to make sure that I cite it with the attribution. I go on again, mentioning her name with the date, underscores the value of, and now I'm using a direct quote here, talking with writers about writing. And because I've used her name at the beginning here, I don't need to put it at the end, but I do need to put the citation here, okay? Because this is I'm because I'm using a quote, all right? Collaboratively rather than directing advice about writing at them. And then furthermore, she asserts that reciprocal learning between peer tutor and client understood through the concept of, okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you're going to get the point anyway. So this is just one paragraph. There was another paragraph that went along with this because this was a larger paper. But I'm asking you for each article that you review, that you have at least one well-developed paragraph for that. But more probably is going to be, you'll probably end up with more. All right, so let's go back up here. So what's the topic of your literature review? It needs to be an area of educational psychology that pertains to what we've looked at throughout this course. So, I mean, it could be any of the large, broad topics that we've looked at. It could be a smaller aspect of that. It could be about finding out about a theorist. It could be about looking at a particular psychologist and anything, really, as long as it pertains to educational psychology and it's something you want to know more about or you have a question about. All right. So once you've selected your topic and formed your research question, you're going to do some research using the library databases. This is an academic paper. I don't want you using internet resources. Okay. You're going to use the databases. You're going to find at least 5 articles that discuss your topic. And then you're going to write a paper in which you describe, analyze, and evaluate the articles. All right. I've given you a nice link here about writing a psychology literature review. I'll open it for you so you can take a look. I highly recommend that you read this. It really will help you think about what this looks like and how you are going to go about doing this, okay? It's not just describing what you see, but evaluating it as well in terms of what your question is, all right? There's steps here, okay? And the instructions here are for a bit longer paper, 10 to 15 pages. Yours probably will not be that long. How to select a topic, what not to select, okay? Because you want to make sure you narrow your topic. As they note here, if you pick a big broad topic, it's going to be impossible to cover it all. How to do library research. You can do this all online. You don't have to go to a library. It's great if you can get to one, but you can you can get your articles all through the databases. And if you look for free full text, you can get them free. If there's one you really want to get that you want to pay for, you certainly can, but I don't recommend that. There's plenty of free articles out there, especially within the library databases, about how to read the articles and how to scan it, how to take notes, how to read for depth, and then how to write it, okay? Notice this, published review articles may cite more than 100 studies, and they do. That's not what I'm asking for you. Notice here it says most instructors require fewer than 20, 5 to 15, and I'm at the bottom of that, 5. You can use more, but 5 is the minimum, okay? Writing a less than exhaustive literature review means you have to be discriminating, and this is absolutely true. So you need to choose the 5 best that would represent your question, okay? Again, papers are 8 to 20 pages long. I'm not expecting yours to be 20. I'm thinking 8's probably about the average that a paper will be, double spaced. If it's a little less than that, that's fine. If it's a little more, it's fine. But 20 is too much for this assignment. Helping you think about organizing, how to proceed, avoiding plagiarism. Oh, please read this. Very, very important, okay? I know that a lot of people don't realize they're plagiarizing, but if you don't cite what you put in there, you are plagiarizing. APA citation. At this point, I hope you've gotten this down. If you haven't, this is a good place to review. You can also look at on the online sources, but this is a nice little reference here that can help you to see how to go ahead and cite some of your sources, okay? And also how to cite in text, all right? Remember our article, I'm sorry, I'm mixing up classes here. So this will help you with thinking about, when do you do attribution, when do you do full citation, when do you do partial citation, and so forth. So very good, informative piece for you to use. All right, let me close that out and get back to this. So I want you to look beyond the open internet, use the UMA library, okay? The link will take you there, okay? If there's some reason you don't have a library card, well, you should have a library card. If you don't, you can use the Marvel databases. Those are also free. Just make sure you're using the academic portions of that. Here are some guidelines. So your paper should have an introduction that defines and contextualizes your topic, your reasons for conducting. Whoops, sorry about that. That happens when my calendar goes on. What your question is, why you're conducting this review, what do you want to know? You can identify conflicts, gaps, or problems in what has been published. It may be that you've looked at some articles and you say there's some conflicting reports, and I want to really investigate this particular aspect of this to see which reports, which studies are most valuable to me. Decide how you want to organize your discussion of your sources, thematically, chronologically. Each source should be summarized, analyzed, and evaluated in at least one paragraph. But I suspect you're going to need a couple for each one. Excuse me. It's important to include sources that take a variety of stances on the issue. So you don't want to, sort of just look for articles that agree with what you're thinking. You want to look at a broad spectrum so that you can push back against, or you can maybe accommodate something from a viewpoint that you hadn't thought about before. So look for a variety of stances. Make sure you use attributive language, okay? The author indicates. I don't want to see this article talks about. Articles don't talk, all right? So I don't want to see that. I want to see, the author indicates, or, Smith indicates or Smith argues, but I don't want to see this article talks about, okay? Indicate how your source assists you in understanding your topic. Remember down here, if you look at my model, I wrote, how this was helping me to think about, while I knew the tutors in our writing center were certainly striving. So I'm bringing it back to my question, okay? Point out whether your source is empirical, which is research-based, conceptual, which is idea-based, or anecdotal, which is observation and experience-based. This is important, okay? You'll notice here that I said conceptual. That was an idea, okay? Use quotations sparingly. You don't want to overload your paper with quotations, but you want to use them when appropriate, okay? Paraphrasing is much better, all right? Even paraphrases, certain paraphrases have to be cited, okay? Because if it's too close to what's in the article, you have to paraphrase, you have to cite. Use APA style. I can't emphasize that enough. Use a narrative voice that connects your research to you. So in other words, I'd rather read how each source helps you rather than hearing a disembodied third person. All right, and you'll notice here, there's a lot of I's in my writing here because it's about what I want to know, okay? While I knew the tutors, I also knew, okay? So make sure that it's a narrative voice. And then you'll have a conclusion when you summarize your findings, all right? Here's the rubric that I will use to score your papers. Sorry, if I can open it up here. Do you have an introduction? Is the groundwork laid for the direction of the review? Is the topic appropriate to EdPsych, okay? Is there an objective, balanced view from various perspectives? In other words, you haven't just front-loaded your paper with everybody that agrees with you. Is there a coherent theme that goes throughout the paper? Is there at least 5 sources from reliable peer-reviewed resources? And the study should be valid and applicable to the topic. In other words, I don't want to see any .coms. I don't want to see help sites. I don't want to see informational sites. I want to see research. Analysis and evaluation is the collection of studies analyzed and evaluated for differences and commonalities about the topic, as well as the validity and usefulness for the writer and the audience. Very important piece here. Is there a conclusion and a synthesis? The results of the analysis and evaluation and it brought to a logical conclusion. And then, your paper should be organized. It should be aligned with the theme. The issues should be threaded throughout the paper. You should have meticulous editing so that your spelling, punctuation, sentence structure, and word use is correct. You have meticulously edited for APA, and you have a reference page that complies with APA citation style. Now, there should not be anything appearing on your reference page that is not cited in your paper, okay? So even if you looked at 5,000 articles, I only want to see the 5 or 6 or 7 that you used in your research, okay? So don't be putting a whole bunch of stuff on that reference page that doesn't belong there, all right? Okay, let me close this out. So that's it for your lit review. And your lit review is going to be due. When is your lit review due? It's due the very last class, if I remember correctly. Let me just check here. I believe it is. Yes, your lit review is due on April 30th. Okay, so you've got some time to do this, but I'm assigning it now, the beginning of April, so that you can work on it throughout the month and do a good job on it. And not wait till 2 days before it's due to rush to the library or rush to the interlibrary loan section. So do take your time with this and be thoughtful about what you want to do. If you have a question of whether it's appropriate, certainly email me and I can help you with that. But think narrowing, okay? So if you're interested in cognitive learning theory, for instance, you can't do a paper on cognitive learning theory because it's too big. But you could narrow it down to maybe look at short-term memory, or you could look at some of the Gestalt psychologists that you might want to investigate further. You might want to look at some of those theories. You might want to look at working memory, okay? You might want to look at, how applied to the classroom, what do teachers need to know about working memory, or what are the most important things? What are the most important things that a teacher needs to know about working memory? So, construct your question to be thoughtful, and construct it to do work for you, what you want to know more about, okay? And it can be, again, any topic that you're interested in that relates to EdPsych. And so I think that's it. I'm going to say goodbye, and if you have any questions, please let me know.